Call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, June 17th at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Amy, your chance to shine. Roll call.
Supervisor Jim Nellen.
Here.
Supervisor Mark Hain.
Present.
Chairman Dan Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Waite. Here. Supervisor John Stavenis.
Here.
All right, next item, meet and greet. Is there anybody here we don't know? John, would you like to announce yourself?
John O'Neill, Lake Fishery Road.
All right, good to know. Public participation? Anything, John?
Not today.
Not today, all right. I do have something under public participation, and with respect to you last month, John, you had a concern about the fact that 14 years ago, we converted the clerk treasurer's position to appointed from elected. And I think at the time I mentioned to you that that did not have to go to referendum. I researched that answer for a second time, and that information still is true. And I will reference state statute 60.10 and 60.30 that towns with a population of over 2,500 electors can choose which way they'd like to handle that, either through a referendum or vote or by appointing it with a meeting of the electors. So I didn't want to leave that as an open item. All right. Motion to, let's start with adopt the agenda, and I assume it's been properly noticed, Amy?
The agenda has been properly noticed.
Okay, then we would need a motion to approve.
I'll move to adopt the agenda as noticed.
I second.
Motion by Linda, second by Jim to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Before I go on to the approval of minutes for the Board of Supervisors meeting, I just want to take a minute and let those people that are tuned in this evening to the fact that the town has a new website that came on this week, and it's still thetownofsevastopol.com, so it should be easy to find. Some of the changes include an alert banner that runs across the top of the page that can alert you to items that might need your attention or something of interest. We have some aerial video of the town hall and town park provided by the website provider, so you can take a peek at that. We also have a one-button hot link video to town meetings, which will take you directly to YouTube. And there's a question as to whether that's enabled yet or not. Amy, is it?
We're working on it.
Okay, so it will be there, but you can see it on the website today, which would eventually take you right to YouTube. So if you don't have charter cable and you want to watch the station, it'll pop right up on YouTube, on a link for YouTube. There'll also be links for future periodic surveys. For example, we hope to do a survey on internet access within the community. You'll have an opportunity to input directly on our website, and so we can gather the information. We also have a functioning Contact Us link, so if you want to contact us, we'll actually get it, and we'll be able to respond to you. Quite the improvement. There's also a self-service subscription link. This is a sign-up. If you're interested in getting information from the town, we will directly feed you any changes with respect to notices, agendas, meeting notices, etc. Once you're on there, you'll get an automatic update on any time that something's put on the website. You won't have to go and manually check it, which will be a nice feature. So wanted to make note of that for those of you that are interested. And I want to thank Amy, who worked with the developers and championed this on our behalf. She tells me it's also very user-friendly, so if somebody can disprove her, please let me know. Okay? So, all right. Back to the agenda. We have approval of minutes from the Board of Supervisors meeting from May 20th. I think you've all had a chance to look at that in advance, and if there are no changes, a motion would be
Also move.
Motion from John, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion approved. Pending business, Bay Lake Regional Planning. And this really revolves around the road assessment and I believe in your packets, you should have seen this little beautiful document. So on June 10th, Bay Lake toured our roads, came back and gave us an assessment of the roads. I myself found it kind of interesting because I think we're very good road assessors. Because I think on average, all that we ever saw changed was a one-digit change in our roads. I don't know if that's good or bad, quite frankly. There were a few changes where roads that we had rated were moved up or down, maybe a couple of points in terms of like Choice Lane, Clark Lake Road, South Country View, East Dunn, others where there was a larger than normal change in the condition of the road. So you should have had a chance to take a peek at that, and in 3 columns over, it gives you the road ratings that we had for 2017 as well, and then it gives you, of course, the year that we did something to the road bed. So, interesting report that he gave us back. The question I have here is, how do we want to handle the road tour itself? We need to pick a time and select our roads. Do we want to look at road ratings based on a numerical number and focus on those? What are your thoughts? Roads with the biggest changes, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, 7, 8, and 9, you really don't have to even think about. You know, we could, I don't know, I didn't count how many 6s there were, but I would say anything 5 or less, we better look at.
Okay. Any other opinions? Yes.
We could pull our comments from last year's road tour. I know we had identified at least
We had a couple.
2 or 3 roads. We didn't have the money to do any of the work, but obviously Clark Lake Road, I've been traveling that one quite a bit this summer. And from Brower to 57, yes, it definitely needs something. And those have been rated a 4, so definitely downgraded.
Okay.
Choice Lane could use some attention with some new gravel perhaps and grading. Potholes, do we want to talk about potholes?
Well,
I
there's
see
an-
someone has
There's,
been out with spray paint and identified some, like on Peterson.
and there has been some that have been filled, so I
Some
don't
have
know
been
what,
filled,
it's
and
kind
there's
of
a
a
few.
combination, tough to figure out where they are tracking with that information. I think the other thing, I obviously have no problem in looking at roads that are 5 or less, but I think we may need to look at a few of the other roads simply because the roads that might be a 7, a 6 or a 7 might be a candidate for seal coating or something less than us having to spend, the full amount to resurface or, reconstruct. And I think roads that had a change, maybe a 2 or 3 point change, I think we ought to look at those and figure out whether or not we're overrating or underrating those roads. Because obviously, it was Brandon, right, that did this, I think?
I don't know if it was Brandon himself, it was his staff.
didn't say.
Yeah. With regard to seal coating, Shoreside Circle has been downgraded since our last rating session. That was seal coated, so if we want to see how long seal coating lasts, we might want to take a drive down Shoreside Circle, north and south.
Do you know off the top how long ago we did that? Larry?
We did that, let's see, Shoreside Circle,
2012.
2012.
Part of it, the other part's 1993.
So 6-7 years. Did we get our money's worth? I guess I'd like to see what the cost was on that
And I
chip
think,
seal.
didn't we also have people that were
Complaining
calling us
about
complaining about it?
gravel.
Although, I mean, that's not going to be in our control if we're going to try and save a road.
Yeah, we always seem to have to do sweeping at least once or twice when we chip seal.
Okay.
And also to identify at least a couple years out so that when we apply for local road and improvement funds, we have that on the radar because we do have to substantiate that this has been on our radar for 2 or 3 years.
Right. Oh, I agree. I mean, ideally, we'd like to establish a list of roads for the next 3 years or
Yes,
so.
or
and-
5 years even.
Or 5, and roll that out. Okay, so we'll focus on roads that are 5 or less. We'll take a look at roads that have had a couple point changes in assessment up or down, just to try and judge what the impact might be. And then any roads that anyone's had a particular complaint about. And Gordon Road, you cannot complain about, Mark? So,
Right.
I just said you can't, that's all.
Okay.
Nothing
It's
personal.
county.
It's county. All right. Just testing. Okay.
You can complain to your
You
supervisor.
can complain to your supervisor, she's sitting on my left. Okay, so the next question is, when would we like to begin this fun activity? Saturday?
This Saturday?
I don't care.
This Saturday actually works for me.
It actually does for me, but I don't know about anybody else. It's got to be it's got to be fairly soon if
Yeah.
we're going to
Yeah.
get
If we're gonna get on the
bids,
schedule.
get on the
That's right.
schedule and do everything, so.
Do I?
I think that's July 14th.
I'm not sure.
The Y triathlon is July 14th. I don't know about this one.
Yeah, the big try is the middle of July.
I think we can avoid them with a little
But
effort.
there's a lot of bikes up there, up here right now, so.
Yes, there are a lot right
So-
now, out and about. I
Century
saw
Ride
lots
or
of them.
what?
How's it,
Well,
I think you're right. If we don't do it soon, if that's a condition for us letting the contracts, I think
We need
this
to-
weekend I could do.
okay, I can, John, you- how about Mark? Amy?
Sure.
Another person excited about the road tour. Okay, what time you want to begin on Saturday?
6
6 a.m. or 6 p.m.?
a.m.
In which case, would 8 o'clock be good?
How long does this normally take?
a couple hours.
We're generally here till noon, 1 o'clock, depends on how many. Hopefully not, it just varies, depends on how quickly we go.
And if we stick to the designated ones, I think.
Yeah,
We have to
and-
kind of coordinate it so the ending is right around the burger time? Is
We-
that how that works?
We generally figure that out, but, and we've generally used the Mega Wagon.
Yep, it's available.
Okay, all right, so we'll see you at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, and we'll do the road tour, find
Oh,
out
wait a
what's up.
minute. I got, my grandson's
Pardon
coming
me?
my grandson's coming this weekend. Can we
Do you
do it
want to bring
next
them along?
weekend?
Time?
No.
We have it without, I
How long
can't,
is it gonna take?
I
Well,
can't do it
you
next
know,
weekend.
half a day. I mean, I never know, but sometimes it's more or less stuff to judge.
All right.
So,
I think this is sort of streamlined now,
I think that's
where it
right.
shouldn't take us
let's hope
a
so.
whole day.
Oh, I don't want a whole day.
Me neither.
Yeah, well,
All
okay.
right.
All right, let's leave it then on Saturday at 8. And we'll try and pick off the roads to go through if somebody has a list or a particular, and if you have anything, Amy, whatever, we'll tackle that. Okay. Bay Lake Road Tour. Okay, oh, as long as I'm on Bay Lake, and I know I'm ahead of schedule here, but we talked about the fact that they're coming up for your comprehensive, your meeting, planning committee meeting, and they're going to be talking about the comprehensive plan, right?
That is correct. So this Thursday, June 20th at 6 PM, right here, will be at least Brandon Robinson from Bay Lake Regional Planning Commission to talk about updating our comprehensive plan. What do we have ideas for goals, directives, or whatever? We hopefully will be able to set a date or two for another public hearing or public input session.
Okay,
Because if we're doing a newsletter, we definitely want to get that newsletter out so that everyone has enough advance notice.
so is Amy focusing on the newsletter piece, or you, or both?
We'll work together on it.
Yep, we both.
I mean, what was your tentative date, subject to knowing the comp plan date? July?
July.
Okay.
Does that
And
sound right?
so obviously, the comp plan would be the star topic on the newsletter.
You know,
And then-
can we hold that off a week? I'm backing up a little bit. Can we hold that off 1 week? Would that matter?
What, the comp plan?
newsletter?
The road tour?
Um,
Would everybody be ready?
I think I got a problem the following week.
I'm not available the following weekend.
Alright,
Yeah, I'm not either.
alright, let's leave it there then. I'll drive the truck, we'll get done fast.
Okay.
If we can get the newsletter, if we can get all of the articles, so please contact, let's have Amy be the central contact point. We have a couple ideas. Did we want to talk about that now, or?
Yeah, we can, I mean, as long as we're chatting about it, you have a list of things that you're, I'm kind of like, I feel
Burning permits. for-
burning permits, yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's something new.
Recycling now charges, charges for recycling.
Yeah.
Meet our new board member, maybe a little article on our newest board member. Absolutely the comprehensive plan update, public hearings. I have a couple events that I'd like to promote for the Sevastopol Historical Society.
The
Do we
internet
want to?
survey.
Oh, the cable survey?
Yeah.
New website.
The
Yep.
new website, do we want to say something about our new building inspector, because there's new contact phone numbers now and everything like that?
Okay.
So we have a whole list, so if you'd like to volunteer for an article, please let Amy know. Would that be okay?
Sure.
And should we set a deadline right away?
November 1st.
End of June. Because we're
End of
going to have
June?
to
Okay,
place them.
all right, end of June, so we know how much text we have, how many pages we're gonna need. Did you want a full page of your survey in there?
I think it makes
We could-
sense, but let me walk through that with you, okay? I think that what we want to do is have the survey available so people can see it, but then we're going to direct them to the website. And presumably, most people
We'll use the website.
will use the website, but there will be some people who I'm sure will want to fill out the survey. The whole purpose of the survey being to find out who's not well-served by broadband. I suspect we'll have a pretty good take-up on the survey by people who are upset that they don't have. The only question I have is, can we work out the particulars with whatever survey organization we use, such as SurveyMonkey, who will allow us to create a scattergram that shows exactly where these areas, these pockets are.
And that could be a topic for our plan commission meeting on Thursday. You could run that past Brandon as far as working with SurveyMonkey and all that.
Yes, and I took you up, I called Brandon, and I told him that we have what we're planning, and he said he would look at the survey, and he said, asked if we were married to any particular survey organization. I said, no. We just want something that the results can be distilled easily.
And are we thinking the same size as last time?
I mean, I think
One, two, no, we did our,
it's 4 sheets, right?
yeah, it's,
No, it's 2 sheets, 1 by 17.
two sheets,
8 pages.
11 by 17,
Right.
so,
Well, I mean, the photos are nice, and
yeah, photos are nice.
And what I'm thinking too, I mean, just as a thought, why not ask Brett Timmy to write the building inspector article on from his perspective?
We could do
I'm
that.
sure he would do that. And even the fire chief would do the burn permit, and we could put a picture of the fire chief and Brett both in the newsletter.
Perfect.
I mean, just as a, and for, I don't know what the reduced speeds coming institute are, we'd have a picture of the sheriff in there,
That or a picture of the sign.
or a picture of the
I
cop
see it's
car.
not changed yet.
Which,
It still says 45 miles per
oh,
hour.
on P.
On P, so
Oh,
I will
okay.
contact the highway commissioner tomorrow. Yeah, we could just do the picture of the sign.
Yeah, so I mean, at any rate, just a couple thoughts on a couple of people that might ease the burden on terms of what's up.
All right, we've got our
Okay.
8 pages full.
And what did you say for a date?
End of June? July 10th?
July 10th. Sure.
July 10th?
Hopefully, and then I will alert our publisher, our printer, to save some space for us, and you want us to use the Sunshine House for
I mean, that works.
train and sorting and all that?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
same-
unless you
same
got something
process.
else, same process,
No.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to give them a little work anyhow, and
Okay.
they're certainly not expensive. Okay. Well, we slipped around some stuff, but that's all right. Next one is the resolution in support of EMS as a municipal service. So let me tell you where this is at from last month. We had this discussion And I think, in fact, I know we had a memo here from Ken Pavich. It was the after-the-fact memo, and I talked to Ken, and he wished that he'd have sent it out first, too. Would have made his life a little easier. But I did talk to him on 2 occasions relative to this. As of, I think, Thursday, last time I talked to him, there's only one other town in the county that has passed this resolution. Of course, they're just asking for some patience, and that's the gist of it. I expressed our concern, the first conversation with him, that we had not passed the resolution, that we were concerned. He assured me that we would have an opportunity on any and all input to this, that it would not be made in a vacuum. I had a follow-up conversation with him last week, just to ask if anything had changed, if there were any towns besides the one that had passed the resolution. He was unaware of anybody but the one. And nothing had changed from his perspective yet. The bids aren't due until July 1st, I think. So anyway, that was, I had mentioned at last month's meeting, I would call and talk to him. I've done that twice and shared our concerns, so.
Well, are our concerns for passing a resolution in support of keeping the EMS? Because if I make a motion, it's going to be a 2-2 tie because Linda's going to abstain.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, I mean, I'm part of that system. There's so many what-ifs that, you know, I'm all for it because the system is working good now. We want good jobs in the county, and we've got good jobs. And now they're trying to, I don't know. So,
Well, I think it's important, regardless of what happens. I'm not against it, and I don't think anyone else on the board is against, I mean, we're all in favor of maintaining EMS the way it is. The only thing that I think we differ on is giving the county an opportunity to verify whether or not they're providing the service the best way. I am not in support of any privatization or anything along those lines, but I am in support of at least having them do their due diligence to understand, are they providing the best service at the most, could it be improved? Maybe there's a better way, I don't know. So that was my only take. If it came down to anything that they were going to do, from my perspective, I would be the first guy to stand in line and say, you're crazy, I'm totally opposed. But I'm not unopposed to letting them at least do the homework. And that's, I think, really the difference between where maybe perhaps we're, for
but
example,
if
you
we
and I
don't
stand.
put the resolution out there, then what if it's too late?
I'd have to ask Linda, even though she would recuse herself from the vote, but I don't think we'll ever be too late. I mean, the conversation that I had with Ken the first time, and I expressed our concern and that, we let it ride for a month. And in the second one, he said basically the same thing, as if it ever came to any changes, the stakeholders, the towns,
Because
would
we got a
be
lot of money invested in
consulted.
training for first
Oh, yeah.
responders. Are they even going to use them? The new group? We don't even know if they're going to use us.
Well, let me,
Go ahead.
because we talked about this, John, I happen to believe with regard to first responders, I think they're a key element of having an effective emergency medical service in the county. I have a philosophical concern about doing something that usurps the prerogative of the county board to carry out their responsibilities. I think the county board members, who are going to be much more informed on this than we are, they have been delegated the responsibility of wrestling with this matter. And I think it's got a lot of, I don't deny that there are an awful lot of factors that need to be taken into account. And I'm also aware of the fact that this is occurring, or this discussion is arising in the context of labor discussions, which of course I think that plays a role too. But mostly I just think that as a matter of comedy, that one agency of government shouldn't be dictating to another agency of government or putting limitations on their ability to look at it. I have a feeling that I think that the county board members are going to be, when they have to take the vote, they're going to be far more informed on these matters than we are. Now, having said that, as I reiterated, as I said last week, I think that at some point, we should deal ourselves into the discussion so that we aren't, quite frankly, taken by surprise. And I would assume that the way the county is approaching this, which seems to be in a very studied fashion, we're not going to be taken by surprise. There are probably going to be a number of proposals, some of which, that they'll have to address. And I think that we need, and I mean, I could make the argument, and again, we're relatively uninformed on this. I could make the argument that if the county had its act together, it would want a greater involvement by first responders to the extent that that relieves the demands placed on the paramedics. I mean, I could argue that. I don't know because I don't know what's being proposed. But out of this is going to become a proposal. I think that everyone wants to maintain a very effective emergency services program. And I think, quite frankly, there may be room for improvements too. I mean, we've heard from people in the audience that there's been at least one instance where there may have been a delay in reaching someone who needed help. But I just think that I'd be reluctant to preach to the county what they should or should not be doing. I would rather get to the point where it's a little clearer, and then we can make our views known on behalf of our residents.
Well, Mr. Pollack is already saying he wishes he sent out the memo before the other things, so he's going at it backwards.
But he's trying to repair the damage.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to,
the bids are going to be in, what, July 11th?
right,
Okay, when are they going to act on that then?
well,
Because our meeting is until the
oh
22nd.
God, they wouldn't do anything in that short a time frame. They couldn't. We can't get our roads done in a month. They're gonna turn this whole thing upside down from the 11th to the 22nd of July, which is their next meeting, or 27th or something of July. I don't know. You obviously have you have a insight from a county perspective. So what do you think the general temperament is, without committing yourself? I understand, but I mean,
Correct. I do not wish to commit myself.
but what do you think
I'm
the
just-
general temperament is of your peers? If you were to take a little Kentucky windage, where do you think they see this?
I'm sorry, I'm not, the matter is currently in negotiation at the county level. So the county is the oversight of public funds. As Mr. Nellen pointed out, we have to do our due diligence while at the same time not compromising the level of service. So it's going to come to, eventually it'll come to the entire county board, and the county board will take action on it as a budget item. Like I said, it's still in negotiation at admin and several other committee levels, so that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to ask to recuse myself from any action on this.
What do you mean by in negotiation? Clarify, I mean, I don't, because it's not in,
There is
they
a
haven't got a proposal, so.
Okay, well, they're negotiating with the current contract with EMS.
Oh, okay, I'm
services.
sorry. You mean contract
Right.
for, all right, I
Yeah,
thought you
there's a
meant,
current contract.
I misunderstood you. I thought you meant this. I'm thinking, how could they, I got
So
you.
I do not know if they've received any responses to their RFQ, so I'm just going to stay out of it.
Yeah, no, he.
Respectfully recuse myself.
So, Mark, what are your thoughts?
I'm agreeing with John. I said the last meeting, I think we should put it out there that we are in favor, if we do take a vote and it passes, that we are in favor one way or the other. Like let the county know how our town feels. One way or the other, if we vote against it or vote for it, but I believe we should kind of let them know. Obviously, they're not gonna do their final judgment on our town's input, but kind of let them know that we are interested in it.
Well, I don't have to make this a do or die proposition either. So, I mean, if it makes the board happy that we respond to this, I stated my case, I'm fine with that. either way. You know, it made sense to me that we give them the chance to do it, but you know, I can go either way.
Well, that's what I'm worried about, because I don't want it to die at a 2-2 tie.
She'll vote, we'll throw her in.
I can see her point where she won't vote, so.
Like I said, you're dealing with public funds, so.
Well, if
All right.
you want to make a motion, that's,
And if I make a motion and it goes to a 2-2 tie, then it dies.
gets tabled.
Yeah.
Can be brought back by, it can be brought back by the person that voted. So it's not dead forever.
Then I'll make a motion in support of the resolution to support the EMS.
Second.
So we have a motion by John and a second by Mark. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll vote with you. Opposed?
Aye. There you go.
Motion carries. Linda, you want to vote?
Could you please note that I asked to be recused?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not worth, we passed it. Let's leave it lay at this point. Okay. New business. This is going to be a pleasant meeting, only one item. And it's not even anything that you have to read. It's just a conversation that says, should we post our draft minutes? As some of you know, there are times where we get a lengthy period of time from the meeting to the following meeting, and our policy in the past has been not to post draft minutes. And I think to some degree it does a little bit of a disservice. We don't intentionally delay our meetings, but a good example will be a park committee meeting. We could have a very extensive period of time in between meetings, and those minutes don't get published. I personally have no issue with posting draft minutes with, you know, with a large statement that this is a draft and subject to change, and leave it at that. But I'd like your input, and then depending on where we want to go, we can stay with the current policy or change it. So, thoughts?
Where would you post them?
We'll put them on the website.
No.
Amy, any draw? Let's start with you. You're the typist that gets caught with all this good stuff. That means you have to chase down someone for the minutes.
Right.
That could be a challenge. Any drawbacks from your perspective?
Some people don't realize that a draft isn't part of your records. So if they read it because that's the way that I interpreted it, and then we come back a month or two later and you say, no, that's not what I meant, someone else, there could be miscommunication.
Okay.
That's the only drawback I see.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Do you know what we're required to do under state law?
I think, I am not, but I believe there are municipalities that post draft minutes, and I have never bothered to check it out. Would you happen to know, Linda?
I was just looking at the town of Jacksonport and the town of Egg Harbor. There are minutes posted out there. They do not indicate whether they have been approved or not. I believe our minutes indicate once they're approved, you know, approved last month or whatever. At the county level, all committee draft minutes are posted, mostly for the convenience of other supervisors who want to know what's going on at the various committee levels.
Which is a good reason to do it as well.
So I could say, I would like to know, I guess, what the Park and Rec Committee is doing. I would like to know what the Cable Committee is doing. As long as they're marked draft, but as Mr. Nellen said, I believe once it's on file in the office here, it is a public record. So you might want to use a little caution as to what you're putting into the minutes. For instance, our Property Management Committee meeting minutes, we've generalized them quite a bit so that we're not offending anybody. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. We're not putting anybody on the spot.
Okay.
And then if the public did have questions, they could contact that committee chair or board chair.
I'd have to look back at the webpage. Is there some place that you could post on top of all of the minutes that draft, a draft disclaimer somewhere? I know you can put it right on the minutes, but is there somewhere we could incorporate something and underneath that would just
I'm
say?
sure there's a spot with this new
just so-
website.
Right.
Well, the website is a little bit different now because you can post a packet.
Yes.
You post the agenda, you can post a packet,
Right,
and then you can post the minutes.
right.
So there's like 3 different items you can post for June 17th. Agenda, packet, minutes.
Well, maybe we just put a cover sheet on all of the draft minutes that you post, which just in 36 points says this is draft not approved, and then,
You could put it at the bottom, you
Put
know,
it-
like when we have a meeting that's possibly, a quorum might be there, but no business is going to be taken care of,
okay.
kind of.
Well, should we give it a try, get some blowback? We can always back away from it.
Can't you just say something, they're not official till voted on by the committee?
Till approved at the next meeting.
At the board
Correct,
meeting.
yeah.
No, just
I'm
something.
fine with that.
Now, does this, every committee has to do that then? If we say we're gonna do it, then everyone has to do it, correct? Not just whoever feels like doing it?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the only catch really is in a couple times where you have to chase down the minutes.
Yeah.
But other than that, for the most part, they come back reasonably quickly. But to Linda's point too, I mean, I think it's beneficial to see what's going on when you've had some of these issues. I'm sure, like, there'll be interest in the outcome of the winery, for example, and you wouldn't want to sit on that for too long. Okay.
I think it's a benefit if you could put a watermark draft,
Yeah.
because that tells the whole world.
Right.
Not only for us that it's a convenience, also for all of our town people out here that come to the meetings or can't come to the meetings. If you can't make a meeting, you got something going on, you can look back on it. I think it's a good
Okay.
idea.
All right. Well, let's give that a shot and see where it goes. All right.
Starting now.
Do we do
now?
As a-
Motion
Yeah.
to,
Sure, we could have a motion. You want to do that, Mark?
sure, I'll make
Alright.
a motion to post the draft minutes on our town website and make sure it says draft.
We have a motion by Mark. I think it's his first official motion. Second,
I'll second it.
second by John. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Okay. Ordinance and resolutions. In this lengthy packet that you received are the building permits, inspection fees, and building code changes as a result of the change from Safe Built to Brett Timmy and his company. Brett looked these over, Amy's looked these over. There's a lot of stuff in here, but we didn't seem to find anything that was an issue. If somebody spotted anything in here, let us know, but at this point, we're not aware of any problems.
Is this something the lawyer should look at?
Pardon me?
Is this something the lawyer should look at?
It's
quickly?
basically the same thing that we've had, but just
Before.
updated, right? So when they changed the fee, and so it's kind of like a little bit of find and replace certain areas and updating. So I don't think there's anything that, and I got Randy working on some other things.
John, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Linda. Did you find?
I did look at this, and there's some items in here that will assist with the property management committee in enforcing not only the county ordinance, but our own unsightly premises ordinances and nuisance ordinances and that. So when we do have an issue, we could kind of refer back to the building inspector. I don't know how much our building inspector wants to get involved with that aspect, but it's another backup for enforcing some of our ordinances.
There are 2 documents that have been presented to us for our consideration. One is the contract with Brett Timmy and his,
Right.
Brett Timmy and his organization. And the chair is right. It's essentially reiterates what we had agreed to with the previous building code administrator. I think that, you know, by Brett's own admission, I take some comfort in the fact that either party can terminate the agreement upon 60 days' notice. So it's not as though, you know, even though it talks in terms of a 2-year term, which it has a 1-year evergreen feature, if no one challenges it, if no one, if no one if no one
As issued.
informs the other that they wish to terminate it at the conclusion of the term. But overlaying that is the fact that either party can terminate within, by giving the other 60 days' notice, which quite frankly benefits us, because I think one of the reasons we ended up finding ourselves in a vulnerable position was our previous contract allowed the other side to terminate upon, I think it was
30 days.
30 days' notice, which didn't give us time to react. But in addition, which I thought was the ordinance entitled Building Permits, Inspection Fees, and Building Code. Now, that was a pretty interesting document, and it's a lengthy document. It goes on for almost 20 pages. And my question is who drafted it? Because there's a lot of stuff in this that talks about giving the building inspector, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, the authority to go out to get an inspection warrant in the event that someone refuses to allow him entrance. I don't know what that means. I have to assume that this document has come from someone.
We've had this on the books for about 10 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
we want
So
to
this is just an update.
would we want council to look at it just to make sure it is brought up to date in terms of code references and so forth? Because the substance of this document is it incorporates whole sections of the state building code, which I believe,
Yep.
okay, because we're not going to produce a 200 or 500 page building code. We're going to adopt building code that's been adopted by the state. But when you let a document like this sit for several years, there might be errors and omissions we don't see, or we might want to bring it current to what these documents should reflect in today's world. I don't know the answer.
I think I had sent our clerk an email to please run this past Brett Timmy, our building inspector, to specifically look at the Wisconsin Administrative Codes and those SPS chapters. On page 19, under D, it does say the following chapters of the Wisconsin Administrative Code, as well as all subsequent revisions, are hereby adopted. So I think
So it
we're
would be
covered
brought
that
current
way.
from that perspective.
Amy,
Brett also did take a look at this
Okay.
to make sure everything's up to date.
I did have a question on page 28. Since we are, I think we are in the process of maybe moving a building, or will be shortly.
Right.
So on page 28, under number 8, municipality, it says, before any permit to relocate a building may be issued, the municipality shall examine the application and approve the application by a majority vote. Could we just have the chairman approve that?
Well, this,
Otherwise, we'd have to have a special meeting.
yeah, well, I read through this document, and at the same time, I was out there with the building and all the rest of the stuff. And so I came back with the same question, and I asked Amy to ask you to try and understand, because I had no recollection of the town board doing this. And there were 2 prior moves, one on Bark
Yep.
Road, and then Ryan Grungraver's dad, when he moved the house too. I could find nothing.
One on Rip.
So our take was that we could just facilitate it by a designee.
Yeah, Brungraver.
I
Fundraiser.
believe it was, I believe our
wasn't
chairman
sure who
at
that
that
was.
time did take a look
I mean, I've been
at the
there.
area and
Yeah.
approved it.
So,
Well, let me take another stab at it. Generally, I think, I mean, there are 1,400 towns in the state of Wisconsin, and generally, you would think that out there is a up-to-date standard document of this sort. It's been vetted by outside counsel, And it is, now, I don't know if in fact there is such a document. I don't know if there's a document like this, either that the League of Municipalities has adopted after review or by the Wisconsin Towns Association. And and if it's important for us to adopt this tonight because it's mandated, we might have to do that, but I would like to see if there is a comprehensive standard form document out there that someone can take off the shelf and say, yes, this is the document that's been adopted by 98%, I'm making this up, 98% of the towns of Wisconsin. This reflects the most recent changes in state statute as well as the most recent revisions to the state code. We may want to do that. I don't see where we lose anything by just asking the question. Because,
You're the only one that was a lawyer here, so.
well, what I
the rest of us-
don't want to have happen is we end up in a fight and someone reads their own document against us. That would be an unfortunate situation.
The Wisconsin Towns Association does have a list of ordinances, so I'm sure it'd be very easy if our clerk sent an email to WTA saying, or try to find their most updated version of the building inspection ordinance. And we could go from there, compare the two, see if there are any significant differences,
Sure.
or if we're missing something.
I would think that would be a good idea, just to cover us.
That's fine, we can carry it over to next month without a problem.
So, Mr. Chairman, do we need do you want to,
It doesn't have to be done today. I mean, he's functioning in terms of where he's at from a contract perspective. It's just that we have to update our ordinance on it. I mean, I think we can let it go for,
but with regard to the contract itself for code services,
yes,
that was previously adopted, wasn't it?
Right.
Okay.
that was taken care of. And it's signed in here as well on the 23rd of April. So that's fine. We will go back out and see if Wisconsin Towns has something. I don't want to start from scratch. If their variation is, requires us to cut and paste for a lifetime, then we might change, but we'll see.
This might have came from Wisconsin Towns Association
Yeah, I
10
wouldn't be
years
Yeah,
ago.
we had so many changes over time, it's tough to track. Okay. All right. So we're going to shuffle here. Okay, so we'll carry that back over to next month. Financial reports, you have in front of you the account balances, the transaction, budget versus actuals, January through May of this year. Any comments, questions, or concerns on that? If not, we
Just
will
so we
ask.
gave a lot of money back to people that paid their $400.
Yeah, we have to give it back.
I
We can
know.
only hold it for so long.
That was one of the items in the building ordinance, that $400 occupancy bond shall not be refunded until all siding is complete. And I can think of 2 structures in our town that either have no siding or are wrapped in Tyvek and have been that way for several years, many years. So there again, we could fall back on that
And I
building ordinance.
But was
delivered a letter
that-
to one of those.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that an occupancy bond, or because typically we only take occupancy bonds for new structures.
That was another thing in the ordinance. It's, no occupancy bond is required for improvements of less than 50,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling these 2 projects were less than 50,000 in cost, so we don't
probably didn't
have any
take it.
recourse. Would we want to think about lowering that? Maybe that's a question for Brett and Wisconsin Towns Association.
Okay. Amy, you have the treasurer's report?
Yep, we paid our 3rd quarter fire dues to the city of Sturgeon Bay. The light pole that we budgeted for to illuminate the end of the driveway was installed last week. And we did get our last bill for the snow removal, which brings the total this year to $130,000, which is $20,000 over budget.
130,000. Wow. Well, that's certainly good news, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Motion to approve the financial reports.
I will move to approve the financial reports and place on file for May of 2019.
Motion by Linda, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have vouchers, bills, and claims, May 21st through June 17th. I think everybody's had a chance to take a look at those. If so, if there are no questions, a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims for May 21st, 2019, and June 17th, 2019.
Motion by John, second by?
I second it.
Second by Jim. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, oral committee or commission reports and/or minutes. You have in your packet, and this goes to our earlier discussion on posting draft minutes. We have the minutes from the Park and Rec Board from September 24th of 2018, so that is fresh data. So, are there any, anyone have any oral committee reports or anything they want to chat about for a minute or two?
I do. I want to just mention that there's an issue that is that's possibly making its way through the state legislature. The legislature, as I understand it, is in the closing day hours of locking up the budget that I'm talking about joint finance.
Right.
And then they're going to present it to the governor for his consideration. And it's a speculation as to what the governor's going to do, whether it will be in whole or in part. But the issue that caught my attention, and this came to me from the Door County Room Tax Commission. It was generated by the League of Municipalities. We've talked about the fact that there is, with regard to online brokers who are, through whom people rent on short-term basis, Airbnb is what I'm talking about. And there are 18 other organizations like Airbnb. And the question is there has been, in fact, there in the state statutes, there's a requirement that organizations like Airbnb are supposed to withhold room taxes. They haven't been, and there is, as I understand it, hasn't been much eagerness on the part of the Department of Revenue to force the issue because they're more focused on getting out-of-state vendors to pay sales taxes, which is a very, very large item. So when you buy a sweater through LL Bean, I think LL Bean does in fact pay Wisconsin taxes, but if you buy goods from a vendor out of state, rather than the state expecting you to pay the tax, they expect the vendor, out-of-state vendor to pay the tax. And that's worth an enormous amount of money. The state of Wisconsin has been estimated well in excess of $100 million. So that's everyone's attention. But in the bill that's making its way, that's under consideration, that is, provisions that's under consideration by the Joint Finance Committee is something that would allow the Wisconsin DOR to collect room taxes. It doesn't get to the issue, which has always been an issue with the Airbnbs, which is if they collect room taxes within a particular zip code, how do we know the room taxes are being remitted to the right organization? Because the Sevastopol zip code, it covers 4 other towns as well as the city of Sturgeon Bay. And we've all been of the concern that if this were imposed and if the Airbnbs of the world started to withhold taxes, that we'd be in a difficult situation because we wouldn't know if we got a check for $20,000 and the Room Tax Commission got a check for $20,000. What would they do with it? How would they allocate it? because the Room Tax Commission is under a fiduciary obligation to see those taxes are properly allocated to the participating municipalities. Well, apparently there is a movement to have the Department of Revenue collect those taxes on our behalf, and along with sales taxes they collect. I don't know where it stands, because there are an awful lot of things that go to joint finance at early hours of the morning that sometimes don't make it, and others do make it. But I suspect in the next week, we'll find out what exactly has made it into the budget that's going to be forwarded to the governor. There are some real implications for us if this goes to the governor. I guess we're just going to find out, like everyone else, whether or not at the end of the day, if it is part of the budget. I'm not sure that the state of Wisconsin is going to have any more luck getting the Airbnbs of the world, and I use them. I'm talking about all those online brokers to provide the state of Wisconsin the necessary details, so the state can in turn break that check down into the various piece parts that ensure that the money is properly allocated to the several municipalities from which it comes. So that's it.
That deer out there is very interested in your comments. Sitting right out in the backyard,
I don't see it.
eating our stuff.
On this side of the fence?
Yeah, he's helping cut our grass.
Laddie, maybe you could put that on camera and show the people.
I don't see it either.
Your
Our
catch,
newest attendee.
yeah, your catch though would be that the department would have to put in a whole structure in order to get it down to the individual person, and then work that all the way back up to us.
Well, that's
I mean,
right.
that would be I'm assuming, a challenging, time-consuming process before they get it. Maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, seller's permits or something.
Right now, the Room Tax Commission, I think, does a very effective job
Right.
identifying who should be paying room taxes.
Right.
And they know from all the years what municipality
Goes to.
what municipality should receive those taxes. I think the compliance rate at the local level is over 99%. I think that for us, it works effectively. We have the mechanisms in place to administer the room tax within the county. And I think that, as I said, I think there's very high compliance. And you're right, if the state takes on the responsibility, and they don't get it right, they don't get the detail they need, and, I mean, they're gonna be faced with the same problem we would be faced if the money, if an undifferentiated check came to us, where does it go? The state's gonna have the same problem. But it's one of those things that, that people feel strong about, and it could very well make it into the budget.
All right. County Board report, Ms. Wade.
I have very little to report. County Board meets next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Departments are already submitting their budgets for 2020. Most of the capital improvement project requests have already been submitted. We approved some of those, or preliminary approved. That 2% levy increase that is, I guess, off the board now. Municipalities and counties are not. It was going to be a 2% increase in your levy limit or net new construction, whichever was highest. But I believe that has been zipped out of the budget.
That was the
What I
governor's
told.
proposed budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's out.
It's only been in there for 10 years, maybe more.
Other than that, I don't have the agenda for Tuesday, so I'm not sure what's on.
License and permits. In your packet, you have Door County zoning and Door County inspections, their report. There's a few new homes obviously being built in our town. information and a number of external buildings and decks. So at least there's some good activity there. Yes?
I really appreciate Brett Timmy's Door County Inspections LLC invoice and report. It gives the owner, the contractor, the location, and the reports before were a little vague. And so this is a very nice comprehensive report. Really appreciate it.
I hadn't gotten that far, but you stole my thunder. Yes, new format, I agree. It was easy to use. I mean, it was actually easy to follow through and see what it, what had transpired. I thought, boy, the mystery was gone. So, anyway, yes, he did a nice job with that. So I think he's gonna do a good job for us all the way around. And then in the, God knows how many years it's been since we've had liquor licenses that we have had no issue on renewal. And I'll let Amy talk to that since she's been working with all the individuals, right?
Every business has paid up. Everything is, their dues are paid, their taxes are paid. They have no outstanding debt with us, and the 12 businesses have applied for a renewal on their liquor licenses.
And from past history, some of these were rather challenging, so this is like really nice to hear. So it's great that everyone complied with the timetable. So would you like us to make a motion to approve these then?
If you would, please.
All right.
I'll move to approve the alcohol beverage license renewal applications as submitted to the board, a total of 12 establishments for various classes for the period from July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
We have a motion on the floor from Linda,
I second that motion.
second by Jim. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Amy, for tracking these people down and getting this thing done. That was a pleasant experience. All right, we're down to correspondence. You have the fire report again from the city. It's getting thinner, which is good. It means they have less calls here. There was a foreclosure here in our town. Linda, would you happen to know, or maybe even Jim does, when these foreclosures take place, whose responsibility is it to maintain the property, the person that foreclosed?
Once they're foreclosed upon and
Yeah.
actually gone through sale and past the redemption period,
Right,
I think it would be the county's responsibility just to secure the property, not necessarily improve it or anything like that.
Okay.
But just to secure it, perhaps shut off the utilities or whatever. That would probably be a question for our Door County treasurer.
okay. I'm wondering how tall the grass is gonna get over there before it's done, taken care of too. Might be the kind of thing where maybe we drive down the road a little bit. I
And
don't know.
is that just one parcel?
Just one
That's
parcel.
correct.
The other one's the same way, but, it's kind of, I'll do a little digging and see. Okay. Then, of course, this week, Thursday will be the hearing on the winery on Bay Shore. And there are a number of documents that you have seen relative to lack of permits, zoning permits, food and recreation, safety permits, et cetera, et cetera. So I know we have received a couple of people's input with respect to that already at the town level. And I suppose there'll be some people there that'll want to talk to that issue. You also have a copy of the March, dated March, I should say, room tax report. And that's everything that's in the correspondence this month. So, yes.
If anybody is interested in the annual report of the Door County Tourism Zone Commission, the annual meeting will be held Thursday morning, starting at 9 a.m., and followed by the regular commission board meeting at the town of Bailey's Harbor.
Okay. Announcements. We have the border review on Monday, June 24th at 1 p.m. At this point, I don't believe we have anybody yet. They did resolve most issues, I think, at the open book. The Fun-Loving FFA Alumni Dairy Breakfast is July 7th, Sunday, from 6 to 11:30 on the Threshery Grounds, which is located on Country View Road. I think most people are familiar with that. Our clerk will be away trying to get her final diploma at school the week of July 15th through the 19th, so the office will be closed. There'll be some posting there as to if you need to get in contact with somebody. Our next meeting is Monday, July 22nd at 7 PM. And we'll bring back the ordinance on building permits. Is there anything else? Well, we'll probably have road
Road
tour bid process, what we're going to do with respect to that. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Hearing none, I turn the meeting over to John for his favorite portion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Mark to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. We are adjourned.